been really clean, especially those returning guys. Not too many. We've amplified the install, and so some of those older guys were in different sets a lot earlier than we would be, operating at a pretty high level, especially number one. So I'm excited where we're at. We've had some really good plays these last couple of days. We've had some things that we need to clean up. I do think just going off the cusp, going off summer, and then seeing these last couple of days, I do think we have a really good chance to be really good on offense. We got a long ways to go, but I'm really excited about the group. And with that, we'll just start with questions.
Thank you, Coach. We'll start with Justin and then Dave.
So now that Oscar Rios is back and healthy, what do you think about the backup quarterback competition? And what are you hoping to see out of those guys over the next few weeks?
In my opinion right now, it's probably between Sawyer and Luke for that number 2 spot. Mixing Oscar in there, he just, with him not getting the entire spring, like really putting behind the 8 ball, and I'm not saying he won't have an opportunity to play this year. It's just he needs a lot of reps, and there's not a ton of reps. When you're having to rep, 3 or 4 different quarterbacks, there's just not a whole lot of reps to go around. And then the work that Sawyer and Luke have, put together, they deserve it, and they've made a lot of progress. I'm really excited about those 2 guys. They're still young. They're going to make young guy mistakes, but at the same time, where they're at in their development is light years from where I was when I was at the age. So I really do think both those guys have bright futures, and I'm excited about their progress. And we'll make a decision pretty quick, in my opinion, because I want to name a number 2 and start really dialing some reps with those guys. Like I said, even repping 3 guys with Noah, Sawyer, and Luke getting the majority of the reps, it's just hard because I want those guys to have more. And the only way to do that is you gotta prioritize which one gets it.
David and then Michael.
Coach Sawyer Anderson has really stood out the first 2 days. What kind of is the big thing for him that you like about his skill set, and what could potentially elevate him to that number 2 position?
Well, the one thing that you don't get to see as much in practice, because obviously you don't want to, obviously you're staying off the quarterback. Stay off the quarterback. We don't want to lose a quarterback off of something silly. But the one thing that Sawyer can do is he can run, and he's very explosive. He's a 20-plus mile per hour guy. One of the fastest mid-skill guys that we have. And he's obviously very smart, can process extremely well, very coachable, can throw it. He does a really good job throwing it at any arm angle. So when there are some off-platform throws or some times where he has to create outside the pocket and he's in an awkward position, he can still make the throw. But like the cool thing about Sawyer is he was in Braden Locke's hip last year. They became best friends. And so listening to Braden and Noah go through the everydays of being the backup and the starter, he gained a ton of knowledge and a ton of preparation through that experience, and it's really paid off. So I just, I want to keep seeing consistency from him. I want to continue to see him play at a really high level. Like I said, I need to find a way to get, those young guys a little bit more reps, but it's just a little bit, it's tough because I don't want to take away from Noah. And so, but he's done a great job. He's always prepared. He's fun to coach, and like I said, I think he has a really bright future. So, I agree with you. I think he's really performed at a high level these last couple of days, especially for how old he is.
Michael and then Cole.
What do you think makes Josh Oglesby an effective coach?
His ability to relate to his players. He just has an infectious personality. It's one of those. He played O-line. Obviously he's a 5-star. He was an All-American. He went through some tough times in college. Played on some really good football teams. But if Josh Oglesby wasn't a coach and say he was, worked in any other industry, he'd still be the most popular guy. He would still be the most liked guy. Now, he does demand a high standard from those O-linemen, but they love him. And he can develop, and I love him. I've grown, going into this thing, I was a little bit nervous about it because, the philosophies of what he's from and where I'm from don't mix. Air raid, up-tempo, throw the ball, versus 12, 13 personnel under center, play with a fullback is in his mind is how you play football, right? And somehow we became really, really close over the last season, and it's gotten to a point where I don't see myself without him. Like, he's my guy. He's my O-line coach. And we have so much trust with one another, and we've gotten this really genuine relationship that, we really enjoy being around each other and working with each other. But the kids love him. I'll walk past his office, and his office, is big enough, but it's not big enough to have 18 linemen in there. And every time there's 18 linemen. And they might be watching tape. They may be watching YouTube. They might be talking about something, O-linemen, they talk about weird stuff all the time. But he just does a really good job of getting to know those kids, and those kids, they trust him and they love him. And then he's a really good development coach. Like, he develops guys better than I've ever been around. Part of it's because he's played the position. He's really, really smart. He knows football, but he really knows how to personalize each relationship and attack the development that kid needs. And I think anytime we bring a kid on campus that's an O-lineman that has ability at all, it may not be good year one, it may not be good year two, but year three, I have a lot of confidence that kid's going to be able to play because of Oglesby.
Cole and Justin.
The three transfer receivers, Jordan, DJ, Rodney, how they looked the first couple of days, and have any of those stood out or turned heads just for the first couple of practices?
Going, starting in the spring, I fell in love with Rodney. And when you're in the transfer portal and you're evaluating guys, it's a little bit easier than high school because you're seeing them do it. Well, if you go back to Rod's tape, like, he's catching game-winning touchdown passes in the Big 12 against Kansas, and so there's kind of a warrior component to Rodney that I really, really like. And then to me, if you want to play in the slot, one is you better have great feel for space, and you better be really tough. Well, Rod's both of those. And then the other thing about Rodney is, like, when you put the ball in play and you put it in his hands, he's going to be really, really tough to tackle because he's very twitchy, right? So I'm really excited about Rod. I think he's going to bring a ton of value for us. Jay Ross is very explosive, very smooth, and so is DJ. DJ is about as explosive of a receiver that we have on our team. Both those guys still learning the scheme. We have added, and we are way more complex than people give us credit for. And it's the same thing that we were talking about last year with Trace Bobby. Him coming here, learning a new system. We were doing a lot more, trying to line up, execute the assignment, playing fast, doing all these other details that we expect them to do. Well, I feel like DJ and Jordan are kind of on that same train. They're just trying to figure it out, trying to be consistent, but both of them are really, really talented.
Justin and Brian.
There still needs to be some steps with, potentially adding a guy like Ismail Mahdi back in the mix. But what do you tell some of the running backs who are competing for reps just in case a situation like that were to happen?
We tell them, like, hey, if we were to bring Mahdi back, and I think if you were to ask Ked, Quincy, even Antoine, because Antoine's such a freaking good teammate, man. Wesley, the guys that were here last year, if you asked them, like, hey, are you guys good with us bringing Mahdi back? Their answer would be hell yeah, because they love him. And Mahdi was that type of teammate. And so there's not going to be any, if that were to go through, there wouldn't be any animosity. Now, I will say this, and I'm going to tell Mahdi the same thing if this ends up working out. Quincy and Ked are playing at a high level, not just because you came back and you were the top rusher last year. Like, this is a new season. Those guys have been through a lot of work this year, and they're looking really good. So it's just going to be a competition, just like it was the year before. And I think Quincy and Ked and Antoine and Wesley and Corn, they believe in themselves as well. I don't ever. That's the cool thing about Mahdi, because he was such a good teammate and he was loved by his the team. Is like, bringing a guy like that in, everybody's going to support it. Versus bringing a guy in that, he was the best player, or he was the best player in that room last year, had some injuries, so we got a little bit more opportunity. But it makes it so much easier that they loved him. And so I don't see it being a problem. If it does work out, I would love to have him back. We'll see what type of shapes he's in. He might have been cooking too much barbecue, eating too much barbecue. I don't know. So we got to figure out if Mahdi can move still, but we'll see.
Brian and David.
With the number of receivers that you guys have and the possibility of going super deep in that, how do you work with Bobby to figure out how you get these guys reps early on to identify maybe a pecking order and know how you're going to establish that?
I really leave it up to Bobby, because Bobby has the best feel of the room, right? And so he does a great job of inserting guys in specific times in practice. The other thing that we've done is we've let Noah take some 2 reps just to get used to, if Gio took all the 1s at the A, does Roddy get a ball from Noah? Does Roddy get to step on the field with Noah? And I wanted that to happen because Roddy's going to be on the field on Saturday with Noah. Mizell the same way. Mizell, we threw a deep skinny to Mizell today with the 1s. And Mizell's technically right now a 2 behind Chris Hunter. And we scored, but we wanted to find ways to make sure that they're getting quality play with number 1. And I think, we do a good job of that. And Bobby, he's probably the best I've ever been around at managing those type of numbers, of making sure that everybody feels secure and getting the opportunity that they deserve. And so we'll continue to do that, continue to build that, mix and match, and make sure they're all getting the fair opportunities that they deserve.
David and then Michael.
The instruction here is you're working a lot with the running backs on their route running. And what are the key elements and what you're asking them to do and teaching in those moments?
To me, and we were watching tape the other day, and it's even like Quincy. Quincy coming out of the portal from Portland State, like a lot of his stuff was like split out in like the empty packages. Like he was more of like a scat back type of player. Now we just hit a home run. We got lucky, with our evaluation on him being actual like very explosive in between the tackles. But like, it's just like anything. If we're gonna split them out in an empty set or split them out in a slot position, we can't expect them to be as detailed on route running if we're not working on it. And just like if you're working on your aiming point on mid-zone, you're working on your aiming point on counter, you're working on your ball security, all that stuff. Like, to me, it's just all the same. And so we got to really, find time and practice. If we want to throw those guys the ball, we got to find ways, to be really efficient at the fundamentals of running routes. And so finding ways to do that as much as I can in practice is going to be really helpful.
Michael and then Damian.
You alluded to Isaiah Mizell, who had a really big day today. We saw some run after catch, saw him go up and get a deep ball. How would you assess his progress?
I mean, night and day from where he was last year. Completely different player, and honestly, probably a completely different person in a sense, because, and it just goes back, man, like, you got to have some patience with young kids. And you see a skill set. So last year, his skill set was he was really fast, but that was really it. He didn't even know how to play receiver, really. He didn't have a great feel for it, but he knew how to run. And then we got into a bind early in the season with Hutt going down, Chris Hunter going down. Some other guys were a little banged up, where he had to play. And we were depending on a freshman that probably wasn't ready to truly play. And there was some busted routes, and then all of a sudden it looks like, what are they running? Well, we ran it over, but Mizell decided to run it out. You know what I mean? And but he's been awesome. And the greatest thing about Mizell, not only like has he developed as a receiver that we can really depend on. Now he's got some work to do still. I'm not saying he's a finished product, but I trust him. And I think that becomes with maturity. The way he approached the offseason, the way he approached winter conditioning, the way he approached summer. That's what's paying off for him right now is his mentality and the way he's attacking his opportunity. So I'm excited about him.
Our last two will be Damian and then Justin.
So Lyle described Ked and Quincy with 2 words: bully ball. Mm-hmm. What do you think about that?
I love it because I told Ked, if anybody tackles you, if you get tackled by a single person this year, I'm taking you out. Because he's a powerful running back, and it should take 2 to bring that sucker down. And Quincy's the same way. And the great thing about both of those dudes is they're explosive through the tackles. Like when they see it, when they see space and they're patient, and they decide to explode, both of them can go. They're not just big backs that can't run. They both have a little juice to them. And it's almost like it doesn't get probably seen or talked about enough that both of those guys can run. Like, I remember going to the summer workouts and watching these guys run a couple times, and they had these competitions, and Quincy was beating Gio at times, and Gio's really, really explosive and really fast, and so those guys can really go. I'm really excited about both of those dudes, and they've worked extremely hard. They're both really strong. And probably the best thing about them is they're both great teammates. You know, that's the way that room goes, and Lyle's done a great job because he was in it last year. But getting those guys to truly believe in what we're trying to do and not get carried away with the carries or the touches. They know what the job is, and obviously they have aspirations to be the running back one, sure. But they also want to win, and they love their teammates, and they love this university. So there's not two guys I'd rather go to war with than Ked and Quincy.
We'll finish up with Justin.
So 10 years ago, you started your coaching journey at Bowling Green. What do you remember about your first training camp there, and how do you reflect on the last decade of being a coach?
Well, I mean, looking back at it now, I probably didn't know what I was doing. You know, I thought I did, but I was coaching wideouts. I had a lot of fun. I realized, you know, it was my very first job. I was doing it with some of my best friends. My quarterback GA when I played at Texas Tech was the OC, so I was really close with him. We had a Texas high school football coach, legend, Mike Jinks as the head coach. It was just a bunch of Texas guys with a bunch of Texas Tech ties, and so we had a lot of fun. Now we weren't very good. That's the problem. And but it was fun. I really that first year I remember thinking like I really enjoyed coaching wideouts because they were the best players on the field. You know, I think it was a natural fit for me because playing quarterback and getting to know your receivers and taking them out and doing, you know, throwing routes and talking to them in the summers and stuff like that when the coaches aren't around. It just finally felt natural to me, and I learned a lot. You know, I learned a lot how to manage the room. That was a big deal. Like talking about Bobby Wade, you know, that was probably my biggest welcome to college football. Is like, oh, you want to coach the receivers? Well, there's a bunch of alpha prima donnas in that room that expect the ball every play. So good luck managing that. And but it was fun, and I had a great time. And I always remember like we brought my little brother on. He didn't have any offers, and I remember Jinx coming up to me and said, "When we're going to offer your brother?" I said, "I don't want to be the one to do it. If we believe in him, we believe in him." We offered him. He ended up being a freshman starter for us, so it was fun. It was fun to get to coach my brother for a little bit. So. Yeah, that's what I remember.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Appreciate y'all.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Is Ogilvy's office somewhere where it can handle 18 people? Like
No.
load bearing?
No.
No?
They're like sardines.
But I'm just worried about like the concrete, the floor, because it's structurally sound.
Well, let's hope so. We're all in trouble.
It's like 6,000 pounds.
It is.
2 years before that, they can get my ass up like a Christmas tree. Almost beat him here before though. Almost got you here before. They love it.
That's right.
Does it matter? You guys care?
No, it's your choice.
We'll wait till the cameras in the back are ready.
Yeah, that Texas Tech team I played against, he was coaching. He's still scoring.
How old David, you did good?
We beat Houston the week before and thought we were pretty badass at Texas State, and then they rolled into San Marcos and they're still scoring, like I said.
Thank you, guys. We'll go straight into questions for Coach. We'll start with Justin.
You mentioned in the spring getting the field goal operation there was like slow cooked brisket. How is that operation going now that you've had several months to work with those guys?
It has a really good smoke ring. It's really tender. It's at about 195, 200. We're about to pull it off the pit. We're about to rest it for 18 hours. It's going to be a really good brisket. I'm really excited about where that is developed, and we continue to get better. And I'm really excited about what's going on with that operation.
Michael and then David.
One of the guys that you're looking at punt returner is a true freshman, Caleb Smith. He looks pretty confident and natural back there. If over the course of training camp you deem him to be the best guy, would you feel comfortable putting a true
Without
freshman?
a doubt. Without a doubt. The best guy's going to play. He won't play in a stadium of 80,000 people, but playing at Allen High School, bigger stadium, lights, that type of environment. So he doesn't shy away from that part. But best player's going to play, without a doubt.
And what impresses you about him so far?
He is very steady back there. He doesn't panic. He doesn't, if the ball drifts on him, if he didn't read it right off the foot correctly, he doesn't panic and make rapid adjustments that cause problems. and he's really smooth catching the football. And he believes. He believes. That's a big piece of it. It's like, I'm catching everything.
David and Justin?
Coach, you've got a punter on the team, Chase Ridley, out of Australia. They went to a school called Pro Kick. Is that a school specific to teaching
No.
teams how to kick? Or?
Pro Kick is a training group there that's in Australia. They've had like Michael Dixon guys, Mitch Winooski, some of the greatest guys in the NFL, stuff like that. They train guys there, they're either right out of high school or guys that have gone to play professionally in the different leagues there and then said, you know what, I want to try to do this. And I've said this before, they kind of have a pretty good market of kids that play nothing but rugby and Aussie rules football and run and kick and train like linebackers. So they have a really good continent full of guys that could potentially do that. So that is a training group he works with, and those guys do a tremendous job. And there's some other groups out there do a good job too. But they've got a lot of guys in college football and in the NFL.
Why have we seen the emergence of that style of punting in the last 10 years?
So much the style of it, it's just the population of young men that are there. I mean, those guys grow up running and kicking. To play those sports, you've got to train like you're a linebacker or a running back. So it's just a big population of bodies there that can add to the number of really good American punters that are there as well.
Justin and Damian?
It's still early in the process, but any young players, guys that stand out to you that could contribute on special teams?
Yes, it is early. We had a lot of guys that were here in spring training that we're excited about. You know, the guys that are very, very young, Hannibal Naves did a really good job in the spring. How he develops during training camp, to see where he's at. Xavier Heiler, different guys there, to see where they end up through the course of the grind of camp. Spring ball is every other day. This is a grind. And those guys learning the schemes offensively and defensively, and then also adapting what we do. We do things a lot simpler for that reason, but seeing where they fit in the scheme of things and where they fit. And yeah, there'll be some young guys that can do that and can contribute early.
If Max Harris and Ismail Mahdi, if they're able to come back, I know they contributed on special teams last year. What kind of players were they with your units last year?
They were counting on a lot, especially Max was a starter on the punt team. We're going to put our very best players on there, most trustworthy, best, smart, toughest. He was a starter on that. So, yeah, we would welcome those guys back if that comes to fruition. I know that a lot of guys would be excited about that.
Damian and Michael?
What excites you most about this field goal unit?
I'm sorry?
What excites you most about this field goal unit?
The one guy that's never going to be heard of, the deep snapper, Drew Nicholson, is extremely talented. Young man from Arizona, Coronel del Sol kid. He's been to 2 different schools prior. He's extremely steady. He's extremely accurate and extremely trustworthy, and everything starts from that point forward. And then just the experience of Carter Schwartz, who's held in Division I football games before, being able to work that the entire spring, the entire summer, and that's just led to the whole mechanism with Michael having more confidence in what's going on, and he's striking the ball really well right now.
Michael and Brian?
What's the biggest adjustment that Chase Ridley has had to make going from whatever type of ball he was playing before to playing American football?
I give this analogy, it's probably wild. If you go punt a football on an intramural field by yourself or with somebody else, going into college football, putting a helmet on, shoulder pads, guys coming after you, is like going punting on I-10. It's a wholly different atmosphere. Stuff's flying around fast. Guys are trying to come get you. It's a whole different world. So him being able to experience that in the spring has obviously helped, but it's going to be a growing process because you're going to have the bright lights and road stadiums and all that stuff like that in his development. But yes, just the environment, the whole speed of the game, and never playing the game before.
Do you authorize or allow guys to kind of go after him? Because I know with quarterbacks, they always want you to pull up and not make contact. Are you willing to sort of
Within reason, and we do some stuff in Jorg to kind of create some of that safely, within reason, though.
Our last 2 will be Brian and Justin.
With so much last year, the issues with kicking, part of it was the operation and the mechanism and all that, but what did Michael have to do to improve his part in the whole process, which to the outside looks like the most important part, but what did he have to get better at?
Well, the thing that Michael had to do, if you remember, he did not place kick the year before. So he's a freshman doing it for the first time. So it's a learning experience there. It's a confidence level there, and it's a trust in yourself level, the mechanism has allowed him to trust more and then just be himself. And when he's himself, he's really good.
Was there something to be said about how like he nailed so many of the long ones, but that the short ones were more of an issue? That comes with the, like, maybe you don't have to think as much, you just have to blast it on the further ones?
To an extent, yes. But as far as just, you always want to replicate the same ball. If you go in thinking, I got to kick a 65-yarder, I've got to hit this ball completely different. If you hit a 45-yarder really well, you're going to hit the exact same ball to kick a 55-yarder. You want a consistent swing as you would in baseball, golf, or anything that's really skill-oriented. How do I replicate that swing, that mechanism? Everything that happens is what we're chasing.
We'll wrap up with Justin. A couple questions for you. Have you picked up on Australian culture, like foods or anything like that, since you've coached some of these guys?
Yeah, a little bit. I think Tim Tams are extremely overrated, highly overrated. I mean, like, you got to be kidding me. Nothing special there. Vegemite, no way. I ain't doing it. But I do want to go there. I think it'd be a really cool place to visit and be around. It's very, very welcoming people, and excited about that. And it's a beautiful place, and I would love to visit there. As long as I can take some food with me.
And you've been here for a year. What has it been like for you, just being in Tucson, being a part of the culture, and being a part of what Brent Brennan is building here?
Yeah, the coaching staff, the Coach B was extremely welcoming, and everything that I had heard about him coming into this, I had familiarity with Coach Gonzales, Coach Arce, with Seth, and some other guys on the staff. But the professionalism of our staff, the camaraderie of our staff, the family first approach that Coach has with our entire staff and everybody in the organization, and everybody in the organization is treated the exact same way, and everybody matters, is huge. And not only do we preach red line accountability and all those things with our players, it's with the staff. And this is a tremendous staff that is not ego driven. They're in it for one cause, and everybody's together. And the coolest thing I found about I love Tucson. It's a blue collar city. I love it. The people are amazing. They're tough. They're resilient. And it's not a flashy, shiny, hey, we're the coolest spot in the world, but they're really, really good people.
Thank you, Coach.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Greg.
Yep.
Awesome. All right, we'll start with your opening statement from Coach, and then we'll take questions.
It won't be long. Why'd you roll your eyes like I'm lying? This is exactly right. Less is more. How exciting though! What a cool. I mean, I could sit back there in the back and listen to Coach Doege and listen to Coach Naivar. Have known Coach Naivar for a long time. He was actually a GA at New Mexico when I was a player. So known him for 30 years, and just what amazing people, but amazing ball coaches they are. It's freaking awesome. I mean, I heard Coach Naivar at the end there talking about how awesome our staff is. I think you have to give. Obviously, it starts with Desiree doubling down on Coach B, and Coach Brennan wanting to build something in Tucson special, and showing, I mean, what they built at San Jose State and how they went through the success and everything that they had to deal with during the COVID season. During that COVID season, Coach B actually called me with like 4 weeks to go in the season because they were getting kicked out of Santa Clara County. And he's like, hey, can we come to Vegas? Is there any room? I'm like, man, we need to do something. We'll practice at like 5 a.m. so you guys can practice at 9. So, yeah, we'll make it work. Just what they went through to go undefeated And it's really hard to win every single game. One, you have to have enough talent, and two, you have to have good enough coaches, and it starts with the leadership. And the leadership that Coach B is built in this program. I mean, Redline is becoming a Tucson thing. It's freaking awesome. I mean, Coach B will be running down the freaking mall, and the service trucks roll down their window and yell Redline at him while he's running. I mean, it's awesome. I mean, it's becoming everywhere. So we're blessed. So Team 123 is 2 days in. Team 122 did some really cool things, but the thing about Team 122 is now that's a legacy group. We have an opportunity on defense to be the first team since 1993 and 94 to finish in the top 20 in the country in total defense. We finished in the highest yards per play, which I think is the biggest stat on defense since the 93 team, which finished second in the country in total defense and third in the country in yards per play. I mean, what Larry McDuff and those guys were able to do in the true Desert Swarm, we're trying to, I mean, I've heard many times over the years, I mean, when Scooby Wright was playing and I got the opportunity to hang out with Scooby Wright during the spring showcase, and what an unbelievable football player and legend here. But you hear, like, is there going to be a Swarm 2.0? We actually have the opportunity to make that a real thing, and I am excited about that. But I've said it several times over the last bit, we can't be like the 94 team, the 98 team, the 24 team, the 15 team. Now, the 15 team actually went and won 7 games, but there were high expectations coming off of the Fiesta Bowl. I like the expectation. Now, there's not a great expectation nationally, and I don't even know that there's a great expectation in our league. So there's an expectation around Tucson when we walk around, and I think that's cool. That's the first step in building a major problem here in Tucson for the rest of the Big 12. And, I mean, I got to speak to all the police officers. I mean, Chief Olson, who leads the department. That was for my wife clearing my throat, by the way. That wears her out. But he leads the department on game day and how they section off, and I got to talk to that group. We want to cause them to have major problems. Not because the people are bad, but because there's so many people that are being just freaking ruthless to the opponent. And it starts with winning. We screwed up the one opportunity that could have been the difference between playing in the championship game last year against BYU. When you have a 10-point lead with 11 minutes to go, that game ought to be won if we're going to be Desert Swarm. When you have 6 minutes to go and it's still a 10-point lead, that game ought to be won. When you have an opportunity to recover a fumble with 1:05 to go on the 6-yard line, and you have 2 guys on top of that ball, that game ought to be won. So those are the things that you can't get bored with details, and that's been the biggest focus of this for this group, because now that they have had a little bit of success, everybody in life wants success to be easy. Well, anything in life ain't easy, it ain't worth a darn. So how do we as a coaching staff, and I think we've got an unbelievable coaching staff, how do we keep them from being arrogant and think they're just going to show up and round 2 is going to repeat? Because it won't. You'll get I mean, obviously at the University of Arizona, and I say this a lot too, we're going to make this is the University of Arizona a big thing, and we're turning that. I mean, with the basketball team going to the Final Four, with our triathlon group winning back-to-back national championships, with the football team winning 9, having an opportunity this year to build on that, we're turning that into something. So we got a great job as far as keeping them level-headed. And the first 14 days of fall camp is probably my favorite time of the entire year because we beat the tar out of them. It's fantastic. And I'm a little probably, a lunatic in that stuff, but if I said you don't have to have the most talent, you have to have enough. And that talent being enough, you have to have a bunch of badasses out there that are willing to make their talent enough by the physical nature of it. So this is fun. This is exciting. This is exciting time. So continue to fill up. Buy season tickets, and let's make Casino del Sol a problem.
Thank you, Coach. We'll start with Jason and then Justin.
It feels like in team drills, you're subbing quite a bit and very quickly. Just the thinking behind that. And
that's all conditioning. So we do that every day in Skelly. It's a one-play roll, so they have to sprint 40 yards every single rep. So wherever the ball's thrown, they have to sprint all through the sideline. And we've incorporated getting the D-line. I think we do a great job, and Coach Carroll, we're a strong football team. They do a great job of getting him in cardiovascular shape for July. Once you get into fall camp and you start practicing, It's like when you're in high school and if you played football and then you go to basketball, you might be in great football shape, but you try and play basketball the first practice, you are dying. Well, football is no different. I mean, actually practicing football with a helmet on, and I mean, we've had actually 44% humidity the last 2 days, which is, I mean, that's bonkers. I'd rather it be 120 with no humidity, but that piece, I think it makes our football team a little tougher. That conditioning piece for the first few days is trying to get their hearts back into it. So that one play rolls because those big fat suckers have to run 40 yards every single time. And they did a good job about halfway through. They started to fall off a little bit, and that's okay. We're going to do it again tomorrow. And that's the main reasoning behind that.
Justin, and then call him back.
So you're big into history in Arizona football's history.
Sure.
History shows that after a 9-10 win season, next year not so good. What gives you the confidence that this year's team can maybe buck that trend?
The leadership at the top, Coach Brendan, and his message to our football team from the day we got back from San Diego to where we're at this point right now. Our strength coaches, the way that they, I mean, you have to, and I say this, I mean, there's a bunch of things I say a lot. Gosh, I need to stop talking. You have to build the culture, live the culture, defend the culture. And we were living it like hard last year because it was fun, because we were winning, because everybody is excited. Well, all that's worn off now because those are gone. So how do you defend it? How do you fight for that culture every single day? It starts with who's ever leading it. And Coach B set the tone when we got back in January. I mean, we get 43 out of the 52 weeks of the year. We get to make them do something. Well, they lost 3 of them because we got to play in a bowl game. So they get 6 weeks to themselves. It's a fantastic problem to have. And so I think with the leadership that we have, you have the best quarterback to ever play in the history of this school, who, if we do everything that we expect to do as a program, will be in New York in December. I mean, Noah Fafita is the best quarterback in the country. And if we can get some stops on third down and protect him, he'll be able to show that. And so with those pieces, and then I think we're going to be better up front on defense than we were last year. And everybody keeps asking, well, who are they going to play at safety? Who are they going to play at corner? You lost 4 DBs to the NFL draft, which is a record, by the way. If the secondary is no good this year, it's because we stunk up front. Because if those guys get pressure on the quarterback, the guys in the secondary will be just fine. We have enough talent back there. If they don't, then everybody's going to say, well, you didn't replace then we didn't get enough pressure on the quarterback. You know, last year during fall camp, we talked about it because I preach these guys all the time. We're going to take the ball away. We're going to have turnover. We're going to have interceptions. You're going to have opportunity if you're good enough players. Why? Because we're going to hit the quarterback. And once we hit him once or twice, all of a sudden that pressure, watch the Baylor game from last year. Once that pressure gets going, that dude's uncomfortable. So he slides around and he throws it. And we end up, if we're doing a good job and we have enough talent, we end up in the right spot. They intercept the ball and we make plays. So with the talent that we have on our side of the ball, Noah Fafita with Coach Doege being 2 years in a row, I think we have the best O-line and tight end coach in the country. And then we got a wide receiver room. I mean, what Bobby did with that group from the beginning of last year till the end of last year. We have the best 2 secondary coaches in the country, and I will defend Coach Alvea as the best D-line coach. I mean, you think we have an all-star staff? I do. That's how we break that. Now, when was the last time that we had a successful back-to-back stint? We're talking about history.
That was not Larry Smith, but the guy before him. There was the 2 9-win seasons back to back.
74, 75.
Mason?
Uh-huh. And then, okay, now go before that. When was the last time that you incorporated a championship into that?
Was that McHale?
35, 36. Border Conference champions. Win Border Conference champion at 5-0, though. How about that? Okay, and then come back the next year and win it at 8-0. That's pretty good 2 years row, and so it's been done. It just hasn't been done as of recent.
Cole and Brian.
What's been your first impression of the safety room competition there with those 3 new guys? I know Dalen's been limited, but Lee and Malcolm, what do you think?
I think Malcolm Hartzog has played a ton of football at a high level when he was in Nebraska. 8 interceptions over his career. I told him, you're going to have an opportunity to match that next year. So if we can get some pressure on the quarterbacks, he's really good in coverage. Lee has done Molette has done a fantastic job the last 2 days. The communication pieces between him, Quinn Olson, Malcolm, in the walkthrough stuff, and yesterday in the Skelly, and the way we handle some route concepts and stuff like that has been unbelievable. Lee's really, really smart. For what he lacks in athleticism, he's really, really smart. So a really good football player is always going to be in the right spot. They don't have to be the best athlete. Brian Urlacher was a really good athlete coming downhill and doing all those things. He couldn't backpedal to save his life. So don't make him do something he can't do. Those are the things that we need to continue to figure out. Where are their specialties? And then Matai has had a really good first 2 days. Gavin can play all three spots. Kingston Spivey, Trey's little brother, he's shown up in the last 2 days. He's been a really pleasant surprise. So I think those pieces inside, we'll find the right ones. And if we have to do it by committee, by situation, by down and distance, I'm okay with that too. The one that the battle that's been the most exciting, and you didn't even ask about those guys, but the Tyrese and Dwight and Zuri, those three are determined to be the number 2 corner, which they're probably further ahead than where Aiden Garnes was at this point last year. Michael Dansby didn't do a lot in the spring because we were trying to, it was much like kind of what we did with Malcolm, or really with Boog, was kind of battling a hamstring. So he didn't really come on until probably week 3. Hopefully we're a little bit ahead of that point right there for that room. But it's all going to come down to whether or not we can hit the quarterback with Trey Smith and Tay Brown and Chase Kennedy, how good those guys are. And we'll hit the quarterback, I promise.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Ryan and Mike.
When we talked to Coach Doege, he had mentioned that he wanted to make sure that Noah was getting some reps with the twos, so that he was working with those kind of receivers. With the depth that you want to have at all these positions, are you trying to make sure that your guys are getting to have reps in the ones, even if they aren't at the ones, so that they can play against the top people?
Yes, we have moved. That's another reason that benefits rotating every single play, is those guys go up against different receiver groups every single time. And then we are not only mixing up every play, we'll mix up rotation by play. So one time Matai will go with the first play, and then he'll go 3 and 1 again, so that we get different matchups until we get a group that sticks out, that they work together like the three-headed monster did last year. If we can have multiple pieces doing that, then we'll be better. Those guys played 90 plays a game, or 75 plays a game last year, every single play. If you can do that, and most of the time in the secondary you do that, you don't do it up front. If we can get a rotation where we can put a guy in, you always want a 3-man rotation at corner because of all the vertical routes. If we can have a rotation at safety, that'll be a plus. I haven't done it a whole lot in my career, but we've got plenty of talent. They just got to force me to want to play all of them.
Michael and then David.
Last year you had the benefit of a wise, old Traden Stukes on your defense coming back for his 6th year unexpectedly. Trey Smith is in basically the same situation this year. What do you think he can provide to the team, both in the locker room and on the field?
Everything that Traden did, Trey is doing right now. The best part of Stukes getting hurt in 24 was Trey being able to see his leadership role and how that didn't affect his day-to-day, even though he wasn't playing. Trey took that on last year for the front pieces. He was the same guy, even though he wasn't playing. After surgery, he was the same guy. He's back in the building 2 days after surgery, mandating that they do everything right, that they're on time, that they are getting extra. I think servant leadership is the best kind of leadership, and that's what Traden was, and that's what Trey is. That's what Tay Brown is. So I think that where we have to develop, Trey needs to get Mays needs to get Prince, and continue that so that we can build a Desert Swarm around here that's not just a one-hit wonder. He's doing a phenomenal job. We're blessed to have him. He's never had an off-season. This is the first off-season Trey Smith's had in 6 years of football, and you can tell. So he's not good enough shape either, by the way.
David and then Damien.
Coach, some of your defensive linemen in the spring referred to Trey as Mr. Redline. Yesterday he said, Tay is Mr. Redline. Do you want to choose which one of those guys best defines Redline?
I think if you put the tape on and you watch both of them play, you won't find a play where they aren't going full speed. to whatever the expectation is of the drill. If it's sprinting off the sideline, both of them are gonna race 5 yards past the sideline. If it's gutting human flesh, both of them are gonna gut human flesh. I'm on a deep challenge to find one of them to slip up one time, because when you can coach your best ones the hardest and point them out in front of everybody and make fun of them, it makes a really big point. And so I watched those two like a hawk, and I haven't found it yet. So both of them, they are who they are in everything they do. Trey's an avid reader. I don't think Tay's an avid reader. I don't know. Tay's funny. But they're funny in everything he does. They attack everything they do in the same way. It's a red line, even outside of football, those are kind of people I like being around. So I can't say one or the other, but as soon as I find one, the first one to slip up, I will tell everybody. Promise. I'm a snitch.
Our last two will be Damien and Justin.
Danny, so what is it about the first 14 days of camp, about breaking the guys down, that makes this time period your favorite?
I think the really cool thing about football, and I wish I would have thought about this, it's a Seth Doege thing, and I think we should get t-shirts made of it, 6OV, 6 seconds of violence. It's the only game that you can try and rip somebody's head off and not get in trouble outside of UFC fighting. You can be violent, you can have a violent nature and try and run through somebody. And in order to do that and be good at it and want to do it, you have to callous yourself up. One, you have to be in good enough shape, and there's a choice. You're either tired or lazy. If you're tired, that's my fault. We haven't got you in good enough shape. If you're lazy, then you don't have a big enough factor, give a care factor, to not let your teammates down. I don't think we have any lazy kids out there. We have some that aren't quite ready yet, and that's every year. The difference now is we actually do have them in mandatory workouts all summer. I mean, even when they were voluntary, they were mandatory to some extent. But now they're mandatory. We can actually be out there on the field with them in July. That piece right there is still not football when you don't have a helmet on. You watch defensive guys, I challenge any of the media people. From the time we start practice, the only time they're allowed to take their helmet off is during the TV timeout. If they have their helmet off on the side, it's called helmet law. I find it on the tape, I embarrass them in front of everybody, and then we pay for it. Because once you put that thing on, that should be like, okay, I am a human missile, and I'm going to destroy whatever's in front of me. But if you don't callous up the body, if you don't get them prepared for that violent nature, they won't last for the 12 guaranteed opportunities you have. They won't last for 13, 14, 15, and 16. They'll have no chance. And so for the first 14 days, it's a training that makes them the badasses we expect them to be. It calluses up their bones, their muscles, the running into somebody. And then from day 14 to September 5th, you better get them fresh. Because I thought in 2015 when we were at San Diego State, we beat the tar out of them for a little bit longer. We probably overdid it, and we started out 1-3. And by the time they got their legs back, we won 11 in a row. We could have won every single game that year. We had Penn State down in the fourth quarter in Happy Valley and screwed it up because we did not have our legs back. That's coaching. That's our fault. So that was a big lesson 10 years ago, and so now there's a methodical lesson to how do you get them fresh, because on September 5th, they ought to feel fantastic. And Desiree and Brent have doubled down on the recovery aspect in our building. We've got a brand new recovery suite on the second floor that's got all kinds of massage chairs and all kinds of, every piece of equipment that you can have. We have a freaking chamber that they can go sleep in that's supposed to increase your sleep. We got all these things that they're helping us be competitive at the top echelon of the Big 12 because of the investment that Desiree and Brent are for the University of Arizona football program. And so if we take advantage of that, then the beating that we put them through for the next 14 days, they can recover faster, and then we'll have them ready by September 5th, and they ought to feel great. And if we play a violent game against Northern Arizona, they ought to feel awful after the game. And that makes me happy, because feeling awful means you played really good football. If you don't feel awful, then you're soft as heck. So that's why I think the first 14 days are really important.
So Prince Williams is the guy we're going to talk to this upcoming week. How has he progressed since he's come to Arizona, and how do you think the combination of Joe Salavea, Trey Smith can help them along the way this year?
Prince is lightning in a bottle. And when you talk to him, he's got an infectious smile. He's got an unbelievable family. So, I mean, his two sisters, one's going to play Division I flag football. The other one's is actress, singer that's got a freaking awesome voice, and she's like 8 years old. Mom and dad are just amazing people and have done a fantastic job with their kids. Prince is one of the most respectful human beings. He only has one speed, so we're having to slow him down, which is for the betterment of our football team, not for him. And when we unleash him, he's unbelievable. He's going to be the version of Mays Pesse that I didn't know we had until we got to about week 5 last year. He goes 100 miles an hour in everything he does. So that's he's another one that's going to be in the Trey Smith, Tay Brown conversation of Mr. Redline. And you'll enjoy your conversation with him. And he's got a cool ass name to become a city moniker. So let's see it come to fruition. I mean, I can't wait. This is the greatest time of year. I mean, you got the Major League Ice All-Star game in the middle of July, and then you have those 2 days around it where there's no sports whatsoever. It's the only day in the calendar where there's no professional sports. We just got a friggin' opportunity to watch amazing soccer tournament in the World Cup, which I'm a huge fan of and was awesome. This is the greatest time of year. Football is the American sport that, I mean, the talk between now until we get to February is fun. I mean, all the podcasts are talking about football of some kind. All the sports shows and radio shows talking about football of some kind. And I know the Wildcat Authority goes crazy during basketball, but I looked at your numbers. They were actually more excited during the 8th, 9th, and bowl game than any time up to the Final Four run, the amount of hits that you got on your site. That's how special football is. And when you can do that in a place like Tucson, that means we're doing something. I sat up here 2 years ago. We want to recreate the magic of what Jed Fish and them did in 23. We did it. Now we have to double down on it. And everybody should be, I mean, I know there's a lot of people that are upset with Jed and taking the opportunity at Washington. Don't be upset with Jed. Jed left this place better than he found it. And we're taking full advantage of it. So I'm a big Jed Fish fan because he left it better than he found it. That's what your goal is at any time you take a job in football. And now it's our job to double down on 25 and make 26 in the debate, in the great debate of who's the best team in the University of Arizona football history, and make Desert Storm 2.0 a real thing. And we will do Dick Tomey a great honor. Because I promise you, he's up there cheering his ass off. Him and Lute are sitting together, and they're excited about the Team 123 at the University of Arizona. So, appreciate you guys. Bear down. How long, Jason? 23 minutes. See? Told you.